Hello everybody and welcome back to Automation. My name is Marcus and today on our Let's Play of Contera Motor Cars we've got quite a bit to do. Last episode we of course made the final facelift of our second generation Dragonfly, so it's high time we replace that model today. And then we also introduced the new body style and new generation of the Aspiration, which we need to facelift. The other thing that I'd like to do today, because we have actually saved up quite a bit of money, is expand our factory production. What I'm thinking that I would like to do is move the Dragonfly into a medium-sized factory so we can produce a few more models of that because we really can't keep up with production now. That would also enable us to go to a monocoque chassis, which I think would be helpful for that model as well. And then in the current small factory, what I'd like to do is produce maybe like a super luxury sedan. My plan is, moving to the medium factory with the Dragonfly, we can make another trim of it in addition to the GT and the Convertible. That's a two-seater, and that one can maybe use a new engine family, which will be shared with the new luxury car that's bigger and more powerful, and that can be sort of like the super or hypercar version of the Dragonfly. The other thought I had for it is maybe we could make like a down market muscle car version, but if we stick to aluminum body panels, I think I'd like to keep that muscle car family on our sort of little bit more down market sedan grouping here. But on this facelift of the sedan, we're running a really thin profit margin right now, as I recall. Well, I guess 3.7 is not too bad, but I'd like to make these models a little bit cheaper to produce so that we can take a little bit more margin on them. With that being said, let's go ahead and dive right into the design process. First thing I want to do is get started on the new generation Dragonfly. Of course, the core of this model is still going to be the GT segment, so that's the one we're going to start off with. Taking a look at our body selection here, I did have one picked out before. I think it's this guy right here. Yes, this is the one. Because what I'm looking for, again, is something, I need 2 seat rows. Ideally, a convertible with 2 seat rows would be the best, which this one has. That's available in both a coupe and a convertible coupe. That's really the critical thing I'm looking for to cover the market segments that I want. And this has both of that, in addition to being about the right wheelbase, that sort of 100 to 105 inch mark. So this model checks a lot of boxes for me. As I mentioned before, I think we're going to stick with aluminum body panels to save some weight. And on a medium factory, certainly a medium 1 factory, which is what we're going to start off with, I don't think the production penalty for going with aluminum should be too steep. Double wishbone, exact same as before. And we have, oh wow, actually only 16% familiarity in monocoque chassis, but we're working that up. I'm going to engineer a little bit of quality in. Let's go for +4, because I'm still going to produce this on a relatively low automation. Now, what I'm going to do here is first, let's go ahead and do the facelifts of the Excelsior motor. I think we were using the Sport model for this one. This is going to be the S75. And then I also want to design the V12 for this engine bay, because this is almost certainly going to be the smaller of the 2 engine bays that we're looking at in our 2 cars. So if the V12 fits in here, it'll fit in the large luxury sedan. We'll probably have 2 variants of that one as well, but moving right along in the design, or rather the facelift of our Excelsior S75, not too much going on here. Maybe we'll just stick a couple of points of quality into the fuel system. Oh, we do need to switch over to regular fuel. That was a big thing I forgot to do last episode. We're going to be kind of crunched for time on that, but I think we should just make it. Anything else we want to do? I guess we'll just round out the compression, maybe take the revs up just a tiny bit, or rev limiter up a tiny bit. Crank that up. Not quite so much. Okay. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Nothing too much else to see here. Okay, body style, of course. I want to start off with the coupe. I think I'm going to use this body here, because it's got a little bit more space on the inside, and it also matches that style of the convertible. I don't think that matters from a gameplay standpoint. I just would like them to look a little bit more consistent is all. Maybe we can make the sort of greenhouse a little bit bigger on this. I really love this body. It sort of has that like low belt line look to it, which was something that we don't get in modern cars, but was really popular in cars of like the 80s and 90s and prior. I just think it's really, really nice. It looks good. Trunk morphs on this body are interesting. All right. Should we take the front end at all? I guess there's not too much we can do there. Well, that looks good enough for now. Just make the fenders come out. Kind of an awkward fender flare type, but that's all right. Gets the job done. Of course, we'll come back and do the actual design afterwards, as always. So we're going to stick with rear-wheel drive. I think we'll stick with a manual as well for our GT car. And, oh wow, 174 miles an hour is what it's quoting here as a top speed. We don't really need more spacing with the 5-speed, I think, but we'll see on that. Sports tires, I'm going to make them a little bit wider. I think 195s as a start should do nicely. And magnesium wheels, or maybe just alloy wheels, yeah. Put 1 point of quality in, and then I'm going to make the rims a little bit bigger. I want to give it 17s, and that necessitates, of course, a little bit bigger tires. Oh, well, 25.6 is as big as they get. And that looks about right, about a 60 aspect ratio, which should be pretty good. That's pretty aggressive for the time, actually, so I guess that's all right. And then, of course, we'll just add in a little bit of spacing to fill in those fender flares. And we are in business. Brakes, let's go for vented discs, 2 piston up front, solid disc, 1 piston in the back. Semi-clad under tray, get a little bit more top speed going. We'll leave cooling airflow right where it is for now. And then this is going to be a 4-seater, proper 4-seater. And then what kind of interior were we using in this? I think we were using a luxury interior. We'll stick with that. And then a luxury 8-track as well with a few points of quality in it. Ooh, we have variable hydraulic steering. I had almost forgotten that we rushed the variable hydraulic and then advanced automatic before too, but this is going to be super, super, super nice for our premium sedan, because I think we still have a 3-speed regular automatic in it right now, so that's going to be a huge, huge improvement jumping to a 4-speed advanced. Let's see here, advanced 70s safety, progressive springs, gas monotube dampers. We'll tune it to normal, and then we'll go from there. GT and GT Premium score looking fantastic, and the car's relatively light as well. I think we could do with a slightly stiffer suspension. We don't need to go too nuts, and it's a little bit oversteery, a little hairy to drive. How's our ground clearance looking? That's a little bit high. Maybe 10 inches? Yeah, 10 inches looks perfect. We'll put a point of quality in the suspension as well. We've got a pretty flat roll angle there, so I'll loosen up the rear sway bars somewhat to dial in just a little bit more understeer, and maybe we'll just take that one up a little bit. Okay, about 5.5 degrees, nice 95% sportiness. We're still biased towards sportiness, so maybe what I'll do, I'll bring that up another half a degree of camber in the back. And that gets us about where we want. Really nice 0.97 Gs. That's a really nice cornering figure. Brakes look pretty good. We can actually take some pad aggressiveness out of there, make them a little bit more comfortable. Maybe we'll go for vented discs in the back, too, to control the fade and then have more comfortable brakes. Yeah, at a pad type of 30, that looks perfect. And then we'll just bias them towards the front a little bit more to help with the beam driving. The only warning we're getting is that the load capacity is low for cargo volume. This is a GT car. I don't care about that. And then we can actually lower that gearing just a tiny bit. Actually, no, we can't because we have wheel spin. We'll take it up. 1 click. That's perfect. 6.1 seconds, 0 to 60. That is pretty quick. Pretty darn quick. Okay, this might be our tune right here. Let's just run through and put in a few more points of quality here and there. We want some in the transmission, the body. I already put some in the wheels. Aero's probably good. Interior, we'll put 1 more in. And then we definitely want 2 points of quality for our steering. That helps a lot with the sport-oriented segments. Already have 1 point in here. Suspension graph looking good. All our stats looking good. Ride height looking good. Okay. That's going to be this GT model. I'm going to pop back to the fixtures section. Ooh, can't speak today. I'm going to pop back to the fixtures section, do the design for you guys, a little time lapse, and then we'll be back and we'll facelift this, or clone it rather, and do the other trims. Be right back. Here's the design of the Dragonfly GT75. I actually think it came out okay. It's a decent looking car. It's interesting. Like, this is the first kind of modern design we've done in this playthrough. Like, our current aspiration, which is going to be on sale, I think, well into the 1980s, is going to be on sale at the same time as this thing. Such a radical departure from the Dragonfly that it replaces, which still looks like a car from the 1950s, which it is. This looks like a car from the 1980s, which it will be. I did add in those spoilers in there, so we are going to have to go in and do a little bit of fine-tuning for aero. What I usually do, crank the front wing up in this case to try and get as much downforce as possible, and then we'll try and just actually balance out the rear wing with it, because I don't want to have too much extra rear downforce. That looks good. That gives us a really nice high-speed steering graph. Let's quickly take a walk through and just make sure that there aren't any knock-on effects that we need to change from that. I bet we're okay. The main thing would maybe just be gearing. We could shorten it a little bit. Yeah, we can, or we should, but rather we have to take the spacing down just a tiny bit. Okay, yeah, that looks good. Tighter spacing gives us about the same wheel spin with slightly shorter gearing. I am perfectly okay with that for what hopefully the additional stability of the aero should provide us at speed. I don't think automation aero translates to beam aero, but I think it's that there's a little bit of miscommunication between the game engines there, but that's okay, because I just think that a car going 168 miles an hour, that's at the speed where aero is I think useful, and actually is making a meaningful difference. So moving right along from that, the next thing I want to do, quickly crank out the convertible version of this. Of course, this one's still going to be using the S motor, and then we'll do the supercar variant with the big V12 in it, the brand new motor. What did we want to change here? Really just the body style. We'll go over to this convertible body here. Looks pretty nice. Quickly just make minor adjustments to these fixtures here. Maybe we got to tweak these morphs a little bit. Can I take that out a little bit? Yeah, I can. Okay. Very boxy looking, but I guess that's fine. This is going to be a convertible sport, I guess. Not really. Let's go look at our markets. What am I targeting here? Oh, well, I guess I'm targeting a convertible super now that I think about it. That's what it is, isn't it? These cars always sell really well. Oh, it's a lot heavier. We'll go like that. Scoring a lot better in convertible sport, so we'll pin that. Everything else looking good. Brake fade's fine. Aero, no adjustments need to be made here. Oh, yeah, let's switch the convertible type. I forgot we have that to do. I think hidden auto soft top. Manual soft top is what we're running currently on the Dragonfly. We'll switch up to a hidden auto, and that adds a lot of desirability. Also a lot of weight and unreliability, but whatever, we don't care about that. Convertibles are just heavy. And then to compensate for that extra weight, I'm going to make the springs just a little bit stiffer, and we'll go for slightly stiffer rear sway bars, and that puts the handling somewhat close, at least an approximation of what the hardtop would be. That looks good for that trim. I don't think anything else that we want to do here. Let's go right along. Of course, it's going to be called the CV75, not the GT75 copy. We'll clone the coupe one more time, and then we'll make the supercar. First thing we need to do is design the new engine. So I'm going to make a new project, create engine, And let's make a big V12. This is exciting. I actually almost never make V12s in my campaigns. I tend to, personally, outside of YouTube videos, like I tend to play mostly like budget, high volume manufacturers. I don't do a lot of luxury cars like this, so really fun to get to play with like V12s and V8s and big fast cars. It's something a little bit different for me than what I usually do. What I'm thinking for this motor, our current V8 is about a 4.2 liter displacement. What I'm thinking for this motor is something in the 5.5 liter neighborhood, maybe just slightly under square, a little more than that, because this is going to be a heavy, bulky engine regardless, but I do need to rev it a little bit. Okay, 5.5 liters, that's looking good. It won't fit for front wheel drive, surprise, surprise, but obviously we're not interested in that. Forged internals is what I would like to do for here. This is going to be the sport variant. We'll crank the cam profile right up to 55, bring the compression up. We're not going to turbo it, at least not for now. We'll stay naturally aspirated for the moment, but we may change that in the future. Going to run on regular unleaded fuel, but let's just dump it right in. Let's take the AFR right down to a 13. We only care about power. Ignition timing, we're going to want that probably at about a 60 to optimize power for about 5,000 RPM. And then it would be really, really nice if we could squeeze 7,000 RPM out of this motor. Did I take a 2-valve or a 4-valve on the family? I took a 2-valve. I'd like to try and get away with that for now to keep costs and engineering time somewhat under control, but we'll see. If there's a ton of power to be gained by switching to a 4-valve, then we'll do it. But these cylinders aren't that big, so it should be okay. I'm going to swing for a long tubular header here, no cat, and then what we're going to do is maybe a straight through and then a reverse flow. Okay, well, I screwed the score up. Well, that's just because it's unreliable. Take the compression down to fix that, first of all, and then valve float is our other big issue. So, I don't know, rather than... We can fix it with a few points of quality, but I wonder what would a 4-valve per cylinder do for us? That would fix it almost immediately. How much extra cost does it add? Let's see. Okay, so it would add a pretty modest amount of material costs, and actually, the biggest difference in production units, it's actually not that big. The engineering time isn't that much longer. It's going to be ludicrous either way. I guess we do have some familiarity in overhead cam now, so that's taking some of the edge off, and this might be a good way to gain some familiarity in a 4-valve per cylinder engine. We're probably going to want to adopt that anyway at some point, so we might as well do it in something that we're not going to produce in an automated factory. We still need maybe 2 points of quality in the valve train, or that's getting very expensive, so I'm going to see if I can get away with just 1, and then maybe we won't rev it quite as high. 6,900, that looks pretty good, I guess. What else do we need to do? I guess we need to tweak our exhaust a little bit. That can be bigger. Yeah, let it breathe. 400 horsepower. Doing good. And then maybe put just like... Oh, how much engineering time does that add? Adds a substantial amount of engineering time to add quality into the fuel system. So we're only going to do 1 quality point. And then we'll round out the compression, giving us a nice, neat 415 horsepower. This is a very powerful engine. But I think that's going to do for the sport variant of it. Let's give it a quick listen. It weighs 500 pounds, so it's a little bit on the heavy side, I guess, but that's not the worst thing in the world. And also 500 pounds isn't too bad for an engine, especially for a front engine. What do we want to do otherwise for this, big fancy supercar variant of it? Manual transmission, we'll stick with that. It's has just as much acceleration because all the power just gets spun away on the rear wheels. Let's see if we could do something about that. We're going to need bigger tires. I think that much is clear. So let's step it up to 205s. Lower the spacing, maybe. Taller gearing. That helped a little bit. Maybe even slightly bigger tires. We might have to go bigger in the back than in the front for this one. So maybe it's 215s. Maybe it's even 225s in the back to put all that power down, and then we can fix the rest in tuning. Oh my God, we're still spitting away so much power. This might be too much power. Take some seats out. We don't need that. This is a supercar. Top speed is incredible, but how do we... I gotta find a way to dial out this wheel spin. I really don't want to go to all-wheel drive. It adds so much weight to the car. But I also don't want to go for, like, super wonky gearing either. Like a 35 spacing, like that's already a super, super tall first gear. I don't want to do any more than that. What to do? How does this look? Could we fit wider tires on there? If we lowered the spacing, I bet we could. Let's really quick go in here. Let's adjust our fender flares, first of all. I don't know what happened there. And then maybe we can do just a little bit wider on the rear. 235 is as wide as I dare go on the back. Like anything more than that, we're going to wind up with a really, really, I think, like understeery car. Can we make this work? Kind of. I mean, it's not taking a drivability penalty. How does this score react when I tweak this gearing? Okay, it likes it to have the wheel spin dialed out to an extent, but they're not too fussed about it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to raise the gearing up to the point where we reach top speed at peak power instead of top RPM, so it'll be a little bit taller that way. And then, oh man, this is still so much wheel spin. We're spinning away that power. Maybe do we make the engine a little bit smaller? I mean, I hate to say it, but that might be what we have to do. Let's take it down to a 5-liter. We just don't need to make this much power. We can save a little bit of weight. How does that look? 376. I mean, that's still plenty. And then we can grab a little bit more compression. That's perfectly good. Anything else we can change here? I don't think so. We can clear the held engine as well. Okay. All right, now we're starting to get down in the realm of reasonable in terms of wheel spin. It's helped our score too, and our 0 to 60 time is exactly the same. So all that extra power, that like extra 30 horsepower or whatever it was doing, it was not going to accelerate the car at all. It was just going to shredding rear tires. That's it. So this is just as well. We'll go to Magnesium Wheels. I think this bad boy for now, it's just going to have some nasty wheel spin. We'll just live with it. It doesn't seem to be taking too bad of any drivability penalties here. So we're just going to deal with it, and it's going to be a handful in beam. Luxury 8-track. Should we go to a handmade interior? Yeah, let's go to a handmade interior. Oh no, I don't want to do a handmade interior. I'm going to stick with what we have because, you know, that way it'll have less production penalties and we won't have to do add-ons for our factory and thing like that. Of course, with that big heavy engine up front, the front suspension needs to be a little bit stiffer. That totally makes sense. I want to go for a little stiffer suspension tuning in general on this car. It's a little bit more sport performance oriented than the other one, and then we'll also lower the ride height another 1/2 inch, and we can actually remove quite a bit of the front sway bar to dial in a little bit more sportiness and actually add some in the rear, and we're going to need quite a bit of front camber brought back in as well. Let's go right up to 1.5 on that, and then we can take this down. I want to bias this slightly towards sportiness. That looks really good. Okay, I think that's where we have it. I like the way the score is looking. I like the way the car is looking. I like the way the performance numbers look so far. Let's see how fast it gets around the track. This is definitely something that when we unlock limited slip diffs, this car is really going to benefit. That's going to help us put that power down quite a bit. It's still pretty light overall. I think the heavier engine is offset by loss of 2 seats. Has bigger tires as well. And stiffer suspension. 216! Oh, that's a fast car. All right. Real quick, we're going to call this one the SS75. And then I think we'll call the engine, I don't know. I'm going to call it the Phoenix. What's this? The 5.0. And then this, of course, is going to be the S75 version of it. Very, very good. Okay. Moving along right now. We'll hold off on factory management for now. I'm going to do that as I have in the past. All at the end in one big batch. It's just a little easier for me to keep track that way. Next thing, I'm going to try exploring building the new large luxury car. The segment that I'm going to start off by targeting for this is the luxury premium segment. The other thing that this does is, you remember that I think one of the problems with our previous model of aspiration is that we were trying to straddle the line between premium car and luxury car. The idea with this shooting firmly for luxury and then probably a luxury premium is that it allows that aspiration to compete a little bit more confidently in the lower end of the segment. So that should be good. What body do I want to use for this? I think I did have one that I had sort of picked out. I'm looking for a big mother of a sedan and something maybe with another convertible variant, because there's quite a bit of volume for luxury convertibles. Quite a bit of money to be made there. I think this one here was the one I had in mind, this big late 70s chunk. It looks so out of date compared to this one, but this one's 5 years ahead. We have to remember we ran quite a bit of deep tech pool for bodies. This body itself is 3 years ahead, so should be really still looking pretty good in terms of body age penalty by the time it comes out. This one's also going to be an aluminum body because it's going to be produced in the small factory. We have to stick with a space frame for it for now. I guess we could do ladder, but not really too much point of that. We already have so much familiarity in space frame that, like, yeah, the production units are a lot more, but we're going to be making enough profit margin on this, and I'm not concerned with the extra 200 or 300 units of volume that we could be doing anyway. I'd rather have it just be nice with a space frame. Front longitudinal, double wishbone, no need to skimp, +5 quality. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to clone the variant, and then we're going to take the Phoenix 5.0. We're going to clone it. This one here is going to be the P75, and this is just going to be still a very powerful motor, but more geared towards drivability, having more of that power down here in the lower rev ranges and not having to spin the motor up as much. Cam profile, of course, that's going to be the main driver of that. We'll take it down to a 30. Compression has to come down as well. We'll start with about an 8.5, and then what we'll do is take the rev limiter down. I think 6,300 RPM should be perfect for that. Okay, fuel mixture can stay, standard intake, and we'll go for a single valve body instead of multiple, and we can save a quick buck there. We don't really need throttle response because we're going to pipe it through an automatic anyway. And then just round out our compression. 267 horsepower. That looks really nice. We can probably choke the exhaust a little bit. I'm also going to go to another reverse flow, double reverse flow. Make it nice and quiet. Yeah, looking good. Very quiet, very smooth. Still good amount of power, 260 something. We can probably just go for regular headers as well. Yeah, 260 horsepower flat. I think that's 120 less actually than the sport model, but that's fine. That should still be enough to motivate this boat adequately. We're going to go for the 4-door sedan. Is going to be the model that we start by tuning off of. And we'll adjust it so that we have a nice big interior volume. This is a big, even bigger, comfier limo than the premium car that we make, the Aspiration. Bring that on back a little bit. Don't know yet what I'm going to do with the design for this body. I always kind of struggle to make attractive cars on this body. I don't know. But we'll see. That's probably good for morphs. Maybe we just take some our Fender Flares out. Like that. Okay. Rear-wheel drive, advanced automatic with a 4-speed, open diffs is all we have. Still can run up to about 153 miles an hour or so. Looking just fine. Radial tires, medium compound for this guy, alloy wheels. Let's see if we can do 195s front and back. I need to have slightly bigger wheels and tires than this. Maybe 18-inch rims on 28-inch wheels. Could we make it even a little larger? 29-inch wheels? Yeah, I like that. These big fat tires, that'll help make the ride nice and smooth, and then the big rims will help us fit nice big brakes, which we're going to need to stop this boat because it's going to be very heavy. 75, nice wide spacing there. I mean, this thing's practically a truck. Actually, maybe I don't want the wheels quite that big. Maybe we'll go for 17s and a little bit smaller. Yeah, that looks good. That's still a big wheel. It was just looking a little bit like a pickup truck there for a second. And that's a wide spacing on the back. We probably don't need quite that much. Bring in the fender and then bring that down to like a 90. Okay, that looks pretty good. Yeah, this is a big car. Very good. Okay, vented disc in the front, solid disc in the back, 2-piston, 1-piston, max size. Bring the pad type down to 30 because that's about as high as I would ever want to go. Semi-clad under tray, little bit of cooling airflow. 4-seater, handmade interior, best of the best with a luxury 8-track and a few points of quality. We probably will build the leather works for the small factory. Variable hydraulic with advanced safety, of course. Hydropneumatic suspension. That means we have to do twin tube dampers. That's just fine. And now let's think about tuning it. Okay, well, let's start back at the beginning with gearing. Wheel spin's a little bit much, but we have a little bit of breathing room there to correct for that. We can fix it just by taking the gearing up, something like that. Wheels, grip is looking good. It's a little bit sportiness bias, but 0.82 is just fine. Okay, we'll just adjust these a tiny bit, and they actually look pretty good. We'll just put 1 point of quality in. That means we're stopping the car. We can lock both wheels, but our pad type is still moderate, which is great. Anything else we need to do here? Handmade, luxury, all looking good. Couple points of quality into the steering and 1 point into suspension, and then I don't think we put 2 points into body yet, just to help the fit and finish a little bit. I want to tune this down for just a little bit more comfort and also a little bit more drivability, so I'm going to soften up the springs, soften up the dampers. We still have plenty of cargo capacity, and I'm going to soften up the sway bars as well. How are we doing for ground clearance? We could actually take it up just a little bit. I don't want to go too far. 12.6, okay. 6.3 roll angle. That looks about right. We could probably go a little softer. Let's take one more out of each because I like that we're relatively balanced here. Maybe we'll just put a tiny bit more front sway bar stiffness in just to bias it a little bit more towards drivability. That gives us about a 6.5 degree roll angle. That makes this car, oh wow, this is very comfortable and very prestigious as well. Looking really good just for kicks. This is not a sports car, but let's see how fast it'll get around the track. $239. That's not bad for a car weighing 3,600 pounds. Although 3,600 pounds, like, that's by far the heaviest car we've made, but by today's standards, that's not all that heavy of a car. Like, my Golf, I think, weighs 3,300 pounds, and this is a massive luxury sedan. Let's go back, and I'm going to do the design on this one before we do anything else. I think I'm just going to make a convertible version of it. I'm going to throw together a quick design on this. I'll be right back with you guys. think this might be one of the ugliest cars I have ever made, but oh god, I don't know. Just that front end, only a mom could love it. And then this rear end here, this isn't with the fixtures per se, but like the rear end just hangs out so much. It's like this big thing cantilevered out the back of the car. I wanted the trunk to be a little bit bigger, but like this is going to be like one of those old American style cars where the trunk is like 6 feet deep or something ridiculous. Let's sprinkle in a few quality points here and there. Maybe just one for transmission. Probably don't need any for the wheels. Aerodynamics is okay. Interior, we'll throw in one more. Probably good here and probably good there. We clone it, bang out a convertible version of it, and I think then we just have to facelift the aspiration and we should be good to go to do our factory setup. Switch to the convertible. Delete that nasty door handle. Move this one back to where it should be. Don't think we need any other cosmetic changes. No, we do not. Wheels looking good. Brakes. Oh, wow. We definitely need to do something about the brakes. We'll probably just make the pads a little bit more aggressive. And then I can tweak it like so. We have, just barely enough stopping power to stop the car. Or lock the wheels. We have plenty to stop the car. It's going to be a hidden auto soft top, of course, for ultimate luxury. Everything else stays the same here, and we do need to just go for slightly stiffer suspension tuning around here. Rear ride frequency is low. I guess we'll go a little stiffer in the back. Yeah, that looks just fine. Cornering grip is horrible, but I don't care. That's not what this car is about. This, of course, is going to be the LCV Luxury Convertible 75. Complete that design. We'll just leave the factory tooling as is for now. Come back to that later, as I said. Now, the aspiration, it is just a facelift, but it's very important to me that we get the cost down on this model. So, of course, we do need to, I think, still put in the new balanced variant of the Excelsior motor. But let's go ahead and just walk right through. We can get started with that. All right. Replace the variant. This is going to replace the B68. It's going to be the B75 naturally. Probably not too many major changes here. Nope. Main thing is just switching over to unleaded fuel is very important. We probably can rev it a tiny bit more. Clean a little bit out of compression, put a little bit more quality into the fuel system. All right, looking good. Now for the PS75, let's see what we have here. We have a couple significant changes to make in the trim. All we really did for the engine was swap it over to unleaded fuel and throw a few points into quality. I think for this one, all I'm going to do is switch over to an advanced automatic. We're going to make it a 4-speed, of course. We can lower the gearing down a little bit. Not too much. We don't really need to target the luxury segment with this anymore, I think, as much as I want to target the premium segment. Wheels, anything to change here? We'll just make them a little bigger. 195s. I'll probably do that for the others as well. Brakes looking really good. We can make the pads even a little more comfy. Yep. Excellent. Interior. Oh, I think we'll drop it down to a premium 8-track. We need to make this a little bit cheaper. And I'm going to make it a 5-seater, actually, so that it competes in like a family premium segment as well. Variable hydraulic steering, advanced 70 safety, that's still there. Progressive with gas monotubes. I think the only thing that I would want to switch here is just throwing in a few more millimeters or whatever it is of front sway bar stiffness, because we're still quite oversteery, and adding more tire did not help the situation there. So yeah, let's call that one good for the PS75. And now we're just going to run through a real quick Similar set of upgrades for the wagon and the muscle car. That's all three trims of our Aspiration second generation, given their second model year 75 facelift. The other two, the wagon and the muscle premium, nothing really different than what happened in the sedan. We just added in updated transmission and steering and sprinkled in a few quality points, very minor suspension tweaks, so not too much really to see there. Now we come to the factory setup, which was a big part of what I wanted to do this episode, expanding our factory capability. Everything here is going to stay the same. We're still going to be producing this car in the medium 3 factory that it was before. I'm going to make the automation just a little bit higher, though, and we can also take the QA threshold up a tiny bit. A big part of what I want to do with this facelift is make these cars just that little bit cheaper. That would be big for us. Engineering time is very reasonable, so reasonable, in fact. I'm going to save a tiny bit of money on funding. We're going to take the tooling up to 45, so we can take advantage of that. I'm going to take the process up as well. I'm guessing we're going to need at least 72 months for our other new models. So let's optimize around that for this car, at least for now, and of course we can come back and adjust it later. Okay, that should be a good deal cheaper than what we're putting out now, both in terms of material and labor cost. Engine factories, we still want to produce this in our two medium factories, our accident factory and our original original medium factory. But we're probably going to need to make a size upgrade because we're adding in another medium factory. So let me try to take this one up to a medium 3 and see if that holds us over. I think this is the older of the two. See if that holds us over for producing engines. We'll bring the automation up to 45 on this as well. All right, both our factories are set up. Plenty of engineering time, breathing room here. We can take the tooling and the process right up. I'd like to run it at about a 50. We're already running plenty of reliability on there, which we need because it's an aluminum block. 72-month engineering time for now. Engine factories are overworked. I guess we need to upgrade this bad boy as well. Might as well go right up to a medium 3. I mean, we're going to have offline time regardless, so I'm okay with it. Yeah, that's perfect. Excellent. We'll call that one complete for now. Let's take a look at our forecaster here and do the pricing for the Aspiration. PS75, let's see, premium budget is 30. We can produce this for about 16 grand. Let's try selling it. I think we're selling the current model for 27. We could actually sell this for a little bit less. I'm going to try to sell it for 25. And same for the family utility premium budget is only 22. Maybe I can sell this one for 25 as well. Let's type it in and see. And then the muscle car, I'd like to sell for slightly more. We can make a tiny bit more money on it. Take a slightly higher margin. Yeah. Ooh, actually, that seems to be losing us money. Maybe it's better at 25. Although I guess this forecaster doesn't really mean anything anyway. Let's leave them all at 25 grand for now and see how that goes. We can always adjust it after the fact. All right, let's do the factory configuration for the Dragonfly because that's where we're going to need our new car factory. I guess we probably are going to need to do something about our engine factories as well then. Hedvasia, this one's going to be a large plot just in case for later, but we're going to start off just with a medium one with steel presses for now. This is all looking just fine. What's the second production flag? Aluminum and luxury interior. That's what 77, 76% production. That's fine. I can live with that. Adjust this. We'll take the automation down to I'd still like to run this at about 35. We're competing with this penalty, 2 penalties anyway. Tooling quality, we'll take it up to a 60 to start. And I do think we need more worker wages. I think we were running 10 or maybe it was 15% on the other one. I can't remember, but we'll run 15 for now because I want to build up some experience faster. And because we actually have to lower our QA threshold a little bit on this, which is not ideal this late in the game. Engineering management, 118 months. It's pretty scary, but we can jam funding into it, take the tooling down to 35%, take the optimization slider down to like 25%. I don't care about the cost. That takes us to 78 months. Maybe we just target an 84-month engineering time for this. That's okay. No. Yeah, that's right. More optimization, less reliability. Yeah, 84-month engineering time, that's perfectly fine with me. We'll maybe just stretch it out on the other models just to even it out. Let's do the engineering and factory setup for our Phoenix engine. This one's going to be produced in the small factory. It's probably going to need to go up to a small 3. It needs an aluminum, and I think it needs, doesn't it need a Forgeworks as well? It's not highlighted, but I think we're going to need it. And then we're going to make it a small 3 too. Check both of these boxes. Bring up the automation and the tooling quality, because I think we're going to need to produce more of these. I'm not sure if we're going to have enough. All else looks good. Oh, wow. Frightening, frightening engineering time. But I think we can make it work. Actually, we can make it work pretty darn easily by just taking stuff out of reliability and optimization. All right, 84 months. That looks just good. We're going to be overworking this factory a little bit, but maybe I can price the supercar so that it works out okay. Let's have a look here. Actually, let's pop back into this engine project. Oh, okay, yeah, that looks just fine. All right, the forecasting tool on this bad boy. Let's set our prices, or at least our initial prices. It's kind of an expensive car. I think we're going to be selling this for a lot more money than we were before. Let's see if we can start off with maybe like 35 grand. That's probably a little bit aggressive. Let's go down to 33. Let's sell the GT and the convertible for 30. Oh, the convertible's kind of expensive. That one might need to be 34,000. And then the supercar budget, 90,000. We can take a nice, healthy margin on this one. I'm going to try to sell it for like 65 grand. Okay. Yeah, we'll actually try to make a little bit of money here on that. This is looking very ugly, but, I mean, let's just roll with it for now. We can make adjustments later. Can't win it all. Okay, we're still under production for the Phoenix and overproducing the Excelsior for some reason. So let's go back into the Excelsior factory setup. Maybe we can actually get away with just not upgrading one of these factories. Yeah, that looks just fine. And then maybe there's something we can do about the Phoenix, the shortage of production for the Phoenix motor. Maybe there isn't. The only thing we really can do is take the automation or the process down and add in more tooling quality to the factory. But maybe we can just get it close enough that it's viable. I don't care if it's running overtime a tiny bit, but I don't want it to be too much. Yeah. This really doesn't justify building another small factory, so I'm just going to live with it for now. Okay, pricing, all of this still looking okay. I guess that's fine. Okay, last thing we have to do, oh, the Bravado. This one still hasn't been set up. This is probably going to take that engine factory over the edge. But looks like the scores are at least promising on this for now. Let's go into the car factory. It needs a galvanization plant. I guess we weren't using that before, but we can afford it. It's just fine. And then I'm also going to build a leatherworks because we're using the handmade interior, and that should help reduce the flag on that a little bit, even though it's still a horrendously inefficient car to make. Automation 30, tooling quality 65, take the QA threshold right up top, all looking very good. Actually better if we don't produce too many of this model. We'll slam the funding up. We can take the automation down to 30. And remember, I think we were shooting for 84 months on this. Although we could actually... This one is so close to being able to put out in 72 months. I wonder if we should... No, we can't really afford it on the other one while being still reasonable. Let's take the optimization slider up there. That's a good way to just like sink some points. Because, well, no, actually, I'd rather have it be a little bit reliable. I am waffling so much this episode. Pressure, we'll take that one down. That's an easy one. And then a little less optimized, a little less reliable. Perfect. Now, for pricing, luxury budget, we're not going to be able to price this to sell in luxury, and we're not going to be able to sell it to convertible luxury. These are going to have very aggressive prices. Let's start with 75. No, just a regular 70K. This one's actually going to be 75K because it's even a little bit more expensive to produce than the sedan model. We're selling a lot more of it, according to the forecaster, though. I don't know how this is going to work. And actually, the engine factory load is just lined up perfectly now. Let's complete the design. Okay, I think the only thing left to do is quickly go back into the Aspiration and Excelsior facelifts. We'll adjust these so that the engineering time aligns. I'm probably just going to grab it in the form of reliability, because that never hurt anybody. And then we'll sign these bad boys off. Total cost of this series of upgrades is $1.38 billion. We've got $1.92 billion in the bank. So we've got like $600 extra million. We're not going to even take a loan for this factory expansion. We're just going to pay for it out of pocket. We can totally afford it. Let's sign all of these off. Big risk. All in on these new models because we're taking quite a bit of a new direction with the company and reshuffling our production lines quite significantly. These are going to come out in late 1982, so as always, taking a quick peek at the tech pool for what we want to have unlocked by then. Well, I think we definitely want multi-point EFI, but that shouldn't be a problem. That unlocks in 1982 normally. V10, anything else here? Longitudinal all-wheel drive? Well, we can probably grab that. That would only take a +3. I'm going to put one more point in chassis as well, because that's a really nice, just all-around thing to have. Any brake tech we want to rush for? Air suspension? That might be kind of nice. We'll put +3 in there just to have it. We do have turbos unlocked now. Let me know if you guys want to see us do like turbochargers on these cars, or if we want to stay pure nat-ass motors. I don't know what direction I want to take with it just yet. Anything else we need to reach for here? I don't think so. I think everything else should be good. Next set of upgrades should be good. We should upgrade to multi-point EFI, and that'll give us a nice boost in power and emissions and just an all-around improvement. Take a quick peek at the bodies. Do we still need to be sinking this much money into body tech? Probably not. We have these 1980 bodies and like 1984 bodies are just fantastic. The only thing, 1988, I probably don't need to reach out quite so far for these. I guess my only question is, do we have a sedan body with a coupe variant? We'll probably be able to just use one of those, but you know what, just to be safe, and because we have the money, I'm going to put an extra point of quality, because we're already running 5 tech pool and body. I don't want to have that all erode for one more additional one, and again, we can afford it. We can have the option to get the 88 bodies unlocked in like 82, 83 when I'm going to facelift or design the next generation Aspiration. So looking excellent. And the last thing, I am going to chuck just a little bit more money at our marketing. So I'm going to put some money in the sportiness and comfort fields for all of our different countries. Just a little touch up to help improve awareness. Very good. All right, and with that, I think we're ready to press play and let the game run for a little while and see how these models hit. Quick pause on the game. We're about to just run into our first sales tick for the new set of models that we're putting out. You can see we spent quite a bit of money doing our factory setup and tooling, but we were profitable in the interim before that. And we spent a lot of our money, but we still have over $1 billion left, so very financially secure. All that remains to be seen is to let the game tick over once or twice and get a peek at how the market reacts to our new models. So far, so good. All right, we'll let it run one more tick, and then I'll pause and see what's going on here. Okay. So far, looking excellent. Selling plenty more models of our aspiration. That's really nice to see. It's also cheaper than before. Dragonfly also selling very well with a lot of pre-orders in there. Not selling too many of the... let's see here. Pre-order change. Oh, we're actually not selling many of the much volume on our Bravado at all, but that's probably enough to, I don't know, to break a profit on it. It's really just to use up that small factory and maybe add a little bit of prestige to the company. This Dragonfly, though, continues to be an absolute money printing machine for us. I think we can take even more of a markup on it. And then the aspiration, let's just run one more tick. And we are just barely grinding down that pre-order number for the aspiration. That's just fine. So that's perfect. That means there's a little bit of breathing room on the price there. Excellent. That's going to wrap up the automation portion of today's episode. I'm going to export a few models over to BeamNG. There's a couple that I'm interested to take a drive for today, namely, of course, the SS75 Dragonfly, but I also want to test drive our luxury sedan and just the regular GT model and see how that feels as well with the new motor. I have a hunch that the GT model, even though it's going to be slower in a straight line, is probably going to be a little bit nicer handling because it's got the lighter motor in the front. In any case, we'll find out if I'm right. I'll see you guys over in BeamNG Drive. Bye for now. Let's get started with the Bravado Sedan, the big, ugly, huge boat of a luxury car, but with a big V12 in it. Let's see. It definitely feels heavy. I'm not really expecting this to be a driver's car. It's supposed to be like a big luxury barge of a machine. V12 sounds kind of nice, though, I gotta say. I mean, it's an easy car to drive for how much power it has. It should be, with that long wheelbase. It's pretty quick as well. You know, I think this car has what might be deemed road-hugging weight. Obviously seems to ride extremely well, soaking up bumps in the small island road here with basically no difficulty at all. This has the sense of just being like one of those physics-defying cars where something this large and this comfortable and this heavy shouldn't be as fast as it is by rights. After all, the engine isn't actually all like crazy powerful, at least not by today's standards. It's got like, I think, what did we say? It had like 260 or 270 horsepower or something. You know, they're like family cars today that have that weigh about the same. Although I guess cars today are pretty darn fast by historical standards. I think that's going to wrap up the test drive for the Bravado. I'm pretty happy with this car. It's pretty fun to drive for what it is. It looks like there's, I don't know, we lost a door handle somewhere along the line here. That looks like the placement for where it would be for the convertible version. I'm not really sure how that happened since we based the convertible off of this model, but it's not really important. Let's pop over to the test track. I'm going to test drive the new variants of the Dragonfly, which I'm really, really excited to give a spin. We're back at the test track. We've got the convertible variant, actually, of the third generation Dragonfly. It's amazing how different this looks from the model it replaced. Also, kind of mad that I didn't grab the, forgot to put the door mirrors on there, because otherwise it's kind of a handsome design. I wanted to get the GT car originally, but for some reason I was having some issues with the exporter and the way the game saved the car. It's the model like blended the fixtures with the Bravado fixtures. It's very strange. I'll show you guys what I mean next episode, but the convertible one seemed okay, so that's the one that I grabbed, and I also have the Supercar as well. Let's drive this thing and see how it feels. Man, it's a lot louder than I remember it. Okay, so it's quick. It feels a little bit heavy. Could be because it's a convertible. Stops really well. Very nice car to drive. That V8 still putting out quite a lot of power. You can tell it's got nice weight distribution. It really corners well. Likes to do these nice controllable drifts. Downshift a little bit there. Let's see how it feels going through the straightaway. How fast we can get it up. Will it still feel stable? All right, and we're back on the gas. Gonna have to brake pretty hard coming into this corner here. That might have been a little early. Used to the older cars that didn't brake quite as well. Gets around here, no problem at all. Yeah, it definitely feels a little bit squishier than the old one, but not in an especially bad way. Like, it's... Could be just because it's a convertible, but, like, it's also just genuinely a very nice handling car. Very controllable. Okay, now it's time for the big one that I think I'm really excited for, and I think most of you guys are probably interested to see as well. The V12 Supercar version of our Dragonfly. This car should be fast. I think it was a 5.5 second 0 to 60 car. Sounds good. Dump the clutch and let's get down to it. Whoa, this thing is quick. And it just shreds the tires right through second gear. Oh my god. Ah! Oh wow, that's a lot of power. Right, so this car is extremely fast, but it's also an absolute handful. Like, it just shreds tires in like second, third, and third gear if you're not careful. It's quite tail happy, and like, it just struggles to put down that power. I'm really, really glad that I downsized that motor from a 5.5 liter to a 5 liter. We did not need the extra horsepower. What we need is more grip. Ah, my God, it's just so squirrely. This is a definition of a car that just has too much power to really be that controllable. Or to be honest, actually, like, it's fun to drive in a challenging way because it's fast. But the V8 powered cars were a little bit more pleasant overall because they weren't on such a hair trigger with the throttle. You know, this is definitely something where I feel like, you know, maybe somebody who actually knows what they're doing, driving cars in Beam, might have a different opinion. You might be able to actually use the power that this car can put down, or at least you would if it had a limited slip diff. But as is, this car is pretty darn difficult to control. Quick, very quick, though it is. And on that note, I think I'm going to wrap up today's video. Pretty happy with the overall results of the models that we just put out. We're selling profitably, making a lot of money. Most of them are pretty fun to drive. I'm a little disappointed I didn't get to test that GT model, but I'll fiddle around with it. Maybe next time we can give it a try after we facelift it. I'm sure we can work something out. Let me know what you guys would like to see going forward. We still have plenty of money left. I don't want to introduce too many more new models just to keep the pacing of the series up. Things tend to slow down a little bit after you get north of like 3 or 4 models. But let me know what you'd like to see, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.